Hi, I'm Sidney Nakahodo, founder and general partner of Solar Capital. Today, we are very excited because for the first time, we're live streaming our events, and this is part of the Seldor Investment Series. We have two very special guests, and would like to introduce Simon Gonzalez, venture partner, who will be hosting today's event.
Great, thank you, Sydney. As Sydney mentioned, Stephen Gonzalez, I've been part of the Seldor team for the last year and a half. I've had an amazing experience. Prior to that, 32 years at NASA, at the Johnson Space Center. Wide variety of activities during those 32 years, but the last dozen working with startups, working with helping to seed startups with NASA technology and finding technologies to bring to NASA, and brought me to work with the New York Space Alliance and Sydney, and we've had an incredible journey in these last 6 years and the last year and a half with Seldor Capital. And so it's my pleasure today to be able to introduce our speaker and an amazing technology, Swisspod, and their Hyperloop technologies. So I'd like to welcome to the stage Dennis Tudor, CEO and co-founder of Swisspod. Hello,
Hi,
Dennis.
Stephen. Hi, everyone.
Welcome. Just introduced your title, but tell us a little bit about your history, about Dennis before Swisspod.
First of all, thanks a lot for this opportunity. I think it's really great to have this conversation. So I think everything started back in 2015 when I was still a student. At that moment, Elon Musk relaunched this concept about vacuum transportation, and he called it Hyperloop. So at that moment, I started with a competition back in 2015 when I was part of a US-based team. At that moment, he managed to build a 1 mile of vacuum tube in Los Angeles, and he launched a competition where he announced that whoever wants to come to test their own capsule solution in that infrastructure is more than welcome. So there were different teams coming from the entire world, universities mainly, but also there are non-student teams. So I was part of a non-student team, which managed to meet on Reddit, and it was a person asking a question like, "Hey guys, who wants to be part of a Reddit team?" And we created a team on Reddit. We're around 35 people, which we created a Slack account. So we had a Slack channel where we're discussing different aspects of the design of the capsule, and where we started being online, let's say, since that moment. So we didn't know each other. There are thousands of teams registered at that competition, and we started to work on the design of the capsule that was fitting actually the tube which Elon Musk proposed at that time in Hawthorne. It was, I think, it was a great adventure. We managed to qualify in the 100 teams that were in the final of that, in the final design of the competition, and actually we got the first prize for the best non-student team in terms of the design. So I think it was great to have to build a team from zero. We were people that we didn't know each other before this contest. We met for the first time in Texas in College Station, and we presented this to SpaceX and Tesla engineers, and we were awarded with the first prize for the best design award. I think that was really great. After that moment, we managed to fundraise a certain amount of money in order to create, to build actually what we promised on the design stage. And 1 year later, it was, I think, January 2017, we built a capsule we promised, and we tested successfully this capsule, and we are awarded with the first prize for innovation. I think that's been one of the greatest moments in my life. It was really something special for me being, awarded. I mean, not only me, but the entire team being awarded with the first prize for innovation from Elon Musk and from SpaceX. So I think it's been a crazy period of time. We also tested for the second competition our capsule solution, but we are not allowed anymore to be officially part of the competition due to the fact that we are not an university, and SpaceX said that they want to focus more on the universities. At that moment, I left the team I was part of in the US, and I came here in Switzerland to pursue my PhD in Hyperloop. So I'm going to graduate my PhD in Hyperloop in the next couple of months. And I created a new team in Switzerland, in Lausanne. And with this new team, we participated again, and we managed to win the first prize for the best design award, and first prize for the best system engineering award, and for the third place for speed. So I wanted to revalidate and to reassess if what we have done in the US was luck, or we are really into something. So it's been a nice continuity of the first team I was part of. For this time, I was the team lead initially in the team I was part in the US. I was working on the software, on the algorithms to control the capsule, and for this time, I think it was a great exercise for me as being on a leadership position in this team.
So then, before you continue on, I was just curious. Before they showed a picture of the Hyperloop, could you explain to the audience what is a Hyperloop that you won all these competitions for?
So Hyperloop is it's the fifth mode of transportation. So we have planes, ships, trains, and vehicles. So I think this is going to be the fifth mode of transportation. It's just imagine that you have a vacuum tube, a normal tube where you extract the air from, and that you depressurize that tube to a certain pressure, which is very low. Let's say comparable with what you find on Mars. And then you have a very fast train going, let's say maybe at 1,000 kilometers an hour. It's just like maybe we can define it as fast as a plane and as convenient as a train, I would say. So yeah, it's basically a train, a capsule going in a vacuum tube, in a low pressure environment tube. This is it's not only one train, but it's, let's say, a convoy of trains or capsules that are going very fast in vacuum tubes.
Excellent. So it's for both people and for transporting goods as well. So
yeah.
So with Swisspod, now that you've launched that company, where are you with the technology now that you've created Swisspod? You've got your team together. Where is the technology now?
So we actually built in Switzerland Europe's first Hyperloop testing facility. We are gonna test our reduced scale model, a 1 to 5 reduced scale model in Switzerland by the end of this summer. So I can say that regarding the technology, we are going to validate and benchmark the fundamental assumptions of a Hyperloop system by the end of the summer. And we are going to, since that moment, we are going to assess the full scale technology for freight transportation. And probably by 2026, we are going to be ready with the technology for the full scale model.
Wow, that's only a few years away. That's to think that you could be sending that quickly. So Hyperloop, what sort of distances do you envision as far as being able to send people and cargo through the Hyperloop system?
I think it is worth mentioning here, just to clarify the last question. I think there is a difference of benchmarking a certain technology and certifying that technology, especially when it comes to passengers. So, facing the reality, I would say that we'll be ready with the test of the technology, but probably not ready with the certification of the technology. So we want to approach the market with a freight transportation, but this freight transportation is going to represent kind of a stepping stone for passengers. So it's going to be a tool for us to not only ensuring an energy efficient mode of transportation, but also representing a nice tool for us to go for passenger transportation. So our core technology that we build at Swisspod, and you know that from our last discussion, Stephen, it's mainly based on propulsion and levitation. So regardless of the application of freight or regardless of the application of passengers, we are going to build this propulsion system. And on top of this propulsion system, we're going to create a capsule which is dedicated for freight, carrying a certain payload, or to have one dedicated for passengers. So yeah, I mean, this is going to probably happen at least for freight by 2026 for the full scale model. We're going to have a better image by the end of this summer again, where we're going to benchmark for 1 hour of ride. So this is how we call it, 1 hour ride of Hyperloop for a reduced scale model here in Switzerland.
That's amazing. And I know that we were just talking earlier that you've got collaborations not only there going on in Switzerland, but some exciting activity going on in Colorado. And I know in the background we can show some of the activities that's happening in Colorado. But can you share with the audience the relationship and what you're planning to do in Colorado?
Yeah, sure. So more than that, we have several investors also located in the United States, and I think it's worth mentioning that in Colorado we're building a full-scale testing facility. So we want to create a facility which is similar with the one in Switzerland, meaning that we want to create an ellipse. We want to have a closed loop infrastructure in order to assess the propulsion and levitation systems at high speeds and long distances. In this manner, will be, let's say, very close to an MVP that could actually be used to carry freight, to carry, let's say, parcels, or to carry different types of freight payloads. So it's worth mentioning that we've got local partners from Colorado. We have got, for instance, Pueblo Plex, which is the owner of the land, together with the TTCI. Today they are called MXV Rail, but for the sake of simplicity, I will still use TTCI. So TTCI is a research center where they test different types of trains, different types of propulsion system, which are dedicated for the railway industry. So they're experts on testing different solutions. So by the way, yesterday I was quite surprised because the governor of Colorado had a tweet meaning that he's proud of having us in Colorado, which means a lot for us. So we try to with this testing facility, we're assessing the technology for the full scale capsule of freight transportation. So at this stage, we're really focusing on that freight. But as I told you earlier, our technology is regardless of freight or passenger transportation. So we'll have also a good image of passenger transportation by testing the freight one.
That's amazing. But excited Seldor, I mean, the technology is phenomenal. We love what's going on with the way that it can transform the markets both on Earth through transportation of goods and people. But excited us was the potential of being able to use it for space applications. Do you want to talk a little bit about that long-term vision of where Swisspod is seated? Because I think that ties into some of your expansion plans, but we'll talk about that in a moment. But could talk a little bit about how the technology can be used for space.
Yeah, so we're pretty interested to assess also the space industry. I think it's one of our priorities in the next couple of years, especially that this famous propulsion system that I was just mentioning now can be used for rocket launchers. So our propulsion system that we promote and what that we actually invented at Swisspod can be used to launch rockets from ground to space, and this will give the opportunity for rockets to have either, let's say, more autonomy or to get rid of the first stage of the rocket. Now thinking about, for instance, Falcon 9 of SpaceX. So I think this propulsion system, from our initial calculations, can be successfully used for rocket launchers. Therefore, this can become, I think, a kind of a tool for the rockets to increase their autonomy and to achieve this mission of maybe Moon or Mars again.
I love that. And the reason why I asked about that before talking about your next expansion is because I know that you're looking at Brownsville, looking at creating a Hyperloop down there. And Brownsville, for those that aren't aware, has adopted the tagline "New Space Brownsville," and they're looking to be able to be a leader in the space activities, and they've done quite a bit already, being able to attract space companies. And so, for Swisspod, what is it that about Brownsville that makes that a rich next target for expansion for Swisspod?
So as I mentioned to you, nowadays on our business model, we're really promoting freight transportation with Hyperloop, and I think the whole Texas state it's a good place to be when it comes to freight transportation. We're thinking about Brownsville because it's quite, let's say, close to this chain of transportation of goods transportation coming from south of North America, so from Latin America, and this can represent for us, I think, a, a proper pilot project um, for instance, you have the ships coming from south of US, and then with these ships they will unload their packages in different ports along the Texas coast, and we'll be capable to have, let's say, a route between those ports and an airport or different distribution centers which are in Texas. So we're thinking about Brownsville because I think it's one of the first ones when you come from south, and it's going to reduce the cost of transporting packages. And of course, I think it's important. We already assessed some different potential routes on the port of Brownsville, connecting with the airports which are close by, as well as with different distribution centers. So I think it can be a good market. I mean, creating such a pilot project will not represent only, let's say, a gadget for Brownsville, but maybe it also can alleviate the traffic, can improve the transportation system for freight, and can ensure a predictable way of transporting goods. So I think those are the most important features when it comes to Brownsville. I think the first reason would be, again, the position of Brownsville and the opportunities to have a better freight transportation in the US. So in this way, we'll be capable to alleviate the traffic, and will be capable to ensure a certain capacity, which is much better than existing transportation systems for freight. We can actually have a predictable way of bringing goods. So I think there are several advantages for Brownsville to use this as a pilot project in that area.
No, oh, I agree. It's when they launched a new space Brownsville a few years ago. We were visiting with them, and they had a nice event that present the new space to the community. And when we were talking about why Brownsville for new space is exactly what you're saying. Brownsville has already the transportation through the port, through the airport, through ground transportation, the rail, and then with their spaceport that Elon Musk has, and the desire for them to create another spaceport in their own airport, and then adding on a hyperloop. Now you have an integration of all those other transportation mechanisms all together to be able to allow for that transportation of goods. The other thing that would be interesting is with their aspirations for being able to create a spaceport there, to be able to, and with all the land in their position, it also would be a great place as you grow your launch capability from Swisspod, to be able to see whether or not there might be an opportunity to leverage their spaceport license there for that as well, because that would be a different way of doing a horizontal launch out of Brownsville. So
Would be
it's
really interesting to see forward, to assess forward this opportunity in Brownsville. I think there is a clear market for that. So of course we don't have all the numbers now, but I think it would be really interesting to go deeper into this conversation. So
well, and to that point, to the markets, as you've been growing and since you've already gotten some funding from different investors, where do you see the initial markets? We've talked about both goods and as well as transportation of people, but are there specific industries, specific communities that are reaching out, or that you've seen that are most interested in being able to take advantage of the Hyperloop?
so I think the most important application we could have at Swisspod is really passenger transportation. I think that's something which excites minds people. It's something that will definitely change the way we live nowadays. And just think socially that you live, let's say, in San Francisco, and then you can go to Los Angeles in probably 30 minutes. So that's something which is uh, totally impossible nowadays. So it can improve not only the way we live, but also it can improve our environment, because this is going to be, um, it's a bit cheesy now pronouncing this name again, like sustainable, but it's really sustainable. I mean, it's not going to be zero emissions. It's probably impossible to have zero emissions, but um, it's going to be very low. It's going to have a very low carbon footprint. So I think that's going to assess also the needs of of, let's say, our environment in US, for instance. So the biggest markets for us nowadays represents maybe countries like United States or like India. I think in those two countries, the market is pretty huge, especially that the actual railway transportation systems are not, let's say, updated. Therefore, there is need for having an alternative for the railway system, and why not, in that case, to build something which is as fast as a plane but as convenient as a train. So I think those two markets, US and the India markets, they represent a huge opportunity for us. The one from Brownsville, it's just an example, but also we're in close touch with authorities in the New York state to assess different opportunities over there too. So
That's excellent. No, it's exciting because we talk about just the possibilities of being able to have point-to-point access in the world with all the spaceports, but we keep forgetting that local speed to be able to get to other parts in the country, to be able to get to other cities, and like you said, from what normally would take 7-8 hours from San Francisco down to LA. Now you can do it in 30 minutes. That would, especially goods and services, that would be a transformation in the market. So earlier you talked about the 35 people that came together on Reddit to create the first team, and now you've got the Swisspod team, and you've got an incredible team there. tell us a little bit about the team that you have now and the expertise that you have on your team.
So after we ended this competition, the last one we participated at with the Swiss team, we had a pretty interesting discussion with Elon at that moment, and I think we've got really fascinated about that dialogue. We talk about the future of transportation, how it should look like, and what kind of features we should follow when it comes to, for instance, Hyperloop. It was a pretty interesting discussion. And coming back to Switzerland, me and Cyril Denera, which is who is the CTO and co-founder of Swisspod, decided to start this company. I think it was mid of 2019. So at that moment, we're the two of us, only the two of us, and we started to bring people. So, for instance, I think the third person was Florian, that is friend with Cyril. So he stepped in. He graduated his PhD with European Space Agency, and he's one of the most important members nowadays within Swisspod. Then we managed to fundraise a pre-seed round. This was back in I think was beginning of 2020, and then we had that pre-seed round with 3 investors. At that time, we wanted to have this investment in order to enable a governmental grant. So with that money, we applied with the University PhD at and with another one in Switzerland for this grant in order to build Europe's first testing facility. And we obtained a much bigger grant in March 2021. So we were accepted with that program. And July 2021, we managed to put in place the testing facility. So I think we started like only the two of us, and we started to grow. Of course, there have been other achievements too during this timeline. But regarding the team, we started as being the two of us. We brought people that were curious and passionate about Hyperloop. I think what brings us together nowadays at Hyperloop is not, let's say, is not really the highest salaries on the market, but really the passion, the curiosity, and let's say this. I don't know. There is a nice spirit within Swisspod. There is a spirit which unites us towards really accomplishing different technological goals we've got during these years. It's something which I really enjoy. So, for instance, it's a lot of fun, right? I mean, we have people which are passionate about technology, which have been part of different environments, and everybody brings his own expertise. I think, like we haven't chosen people based on, I don't know, their experience. Mainly, we have chosen people based on our gut feeling. So it's something which is I don't know how to say, but we've got along together. I think since the incorporation, we haven't had any conflict within the company. Of course, there are discussions here and there, especially between engineers. People which are really trying to push a certain solution or another one. In real life, probably they're just different. Probably they bring different advantages, but I think the passion of our team it's so high that they're really trying to assess their own solution, which I think creates kind of a competition. I would say it's too much in competition, but kind of a competition, which I think competition brings you the best, right? So this is how we have managed so far to work with Swisspod. I remember regarding this propulsion system I mentioned to you. I remember that this was an initiative which was created by 2 engineers saying, "Okay, guys, we're discussing about a certain propulsion system, and then we're not sure about that, and we really got 6 months of brainstorming about propulsion systems and about the way and the constraints we have to have in this propulsion system, such as we can minimize the barrier of adoption of a Hyperloop system." So I think it's been an interesting ride so far. We are around 50 members. We also have the universities, which are helping us, plus the board members, plus our investors. So I think we've got let's call it a community of people, maybe of 100 people nowadays. And like in 2019, we are only the two of us. So I think we have really grown as a group, as expertise. We managed to have a lot of achievements so far, and I think um, I think this is great. But I have to admit that the real challenges are yet to come. So that would be the moment where we are gonna confirm the power of our group.
Well, I know that when Sydney and I and the Solar team first visited with Swisspod, that was what attracted us, was the passion in your team. Being able to visit with you and your co-founder, we saw right away the passion that you had and how well you work together, and the vision, and being able for Selder focusing most our technology that we companies that we focus on are those that are space companies and those that take technologies from space and benefit life here on Earth. And to be able to visit with you and the team in Swisspod, we saw the possibilities. If you being a space science fiction buff myself, when I heard about Swisspod and your vision of it, what brought to mind was the moon is a harsh mistress, and a new way to be able to launch activities or launch supplies from the moon back to Earth. So if there's a vision that's possible through Swisspod to be able to not only launch things to space, but to be able to return things back to Earth. We saw that as a potential there with Swisspod, and we've been excited because we've looked at 255 companies over the past years, and to select Swisspod and the vision definitely came from the passion that your team has. And so you talk about the community of 100 that are supporting you, your investors, your advisors, your mentors, all that are coming together. As far as the relationship between Selder, what are your thoughts on that over the past 6 months that we've been working together?
I think I haven't told you this neither to you nor to Sydney, but I think it's worth mentioning that in our seed round we had like 10 plus investors from let's say from Miami, from Chicago, from New York, from Lausanne, from Geneva, from Abu Dhabi. So we've got really let's say a high spectrum investors during the last round. But we really felt glad when you actually approved your contribution to our seed round, because it was really a kind of a special way, because I know you guys, you invest in like really in space industries in general, and we really felt kind of special and honored, I would say, when you actually accepted to help us. It was, I think, at the beginning of this year. And it was really a moment when I was mentioning to Vlad, to our COO, I was mentioning that we certainly do a lot of mistakes, but we also do some good things. So it's been really great since I think since last year, when we started to discuss about that. We have had a lot of online interactions, but also I met for several times Sydney, New York, and we had a lot of good exchanges. And not only about our technology and the way of how we are going to apply that and how we enter the market, but also some strategic advices that we've got about US. So our long-term vision is to have also a US based company over, but at this moment we need to know a bit more about the environment over there. And I think Sydney has been successfully helping us with that. We also had other kind of discussions about technologies, and I felt that he was also trying to, let's say, enable different ideas by his questions, and with you, Steven, the same, or Alan. So I think our discussions have been fruitful so far, and yeah, we're currently looking to have more of those. So It's not only that we discussed, investment, but I think the real value we've got in the collaboration with you have been those discussions regarding how we strategically should move forward with the board of directors, with let's say the format of the company, or whether or not we are going to have a spin-off for the space industry. So I think there have been different fruitful ideas that you guys brought on the table, and this has happened only in a few months. So it hasn't been like years. There have been several months. So I think that's been really a great partnership we have. And I'm very thankful for that. I'm very thankful for everything what's happening. We really started from two members without having a direction. We only had the vision at that moment. And today I feel that we advanced pretty much, but the challenges are still yet to come. So we have to face those.
Well, and it's been wonderful for us. As I said, the technology that you have and the potential it has to transform space transportation, but also the impact it has in life here on Earth. Those are the core thesis of Seldor, and to be able to find a company that is so well aligned with that has been wonderful. And Sydney and I and the team definitely get inspired by watching how much you're able to accomplish so quickly with the team that you have. And so, talking about that, and you keep saying over and over again that the future and what's coming up ahead will really push your team as you move forward. I know 2023, you said you'll have be able to prove out some of the technologies. Give us a little bit more thoughts about the next 5 years. Where do you see Swisspod as far as the milestones that it will make, and some of the big hurdles that you'll overcome over the next 5 years?
So I think in the next couple of years, in the next 5 years, let's define it in this way. Uh, we want we certainly want to have the technology ready and tested, and to have a much clearer idea about a pilot project, and let's say a production of a convoy of vehicles. So that's going to be our technological goal. If we manage to successfully assess that and to have a pilot project, we may think about an IPO stage where we're going to start to focus on passengers. I think that's something that uh, it's going to excite people's mind. I think it's something we're looking for. So when we started the company, we really wanted to bring, let's say, a plus value in the transportation sector for passengers. Um, I think the challenges are, first of all, I think the most important, let's say, asset of Swisspod is the team. So I think the main challenge is going to be to keep the team united, to keep the same spirit, to try to 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 try to make things, let's say, from passion, and not only just to have a job or to get a salary from Swisspod, but also to do it um, thinking that we may have an opportunity to change the future of transportation. So I think that's going to be the main challenge. I think the main important asset is the team. Therefore, the most important challenge we have to face is to keep the team united, to keep the same spirit of the team. The second challenge, and I'm going to be frank here, we need to secure investments continuously, which is not an easy task, with a not very clear go-to market opportunity, right? I mean, there is no, let's face reality, there is no Hyperloop market nowadays. We need to create one. We need to create our business model on a non-existing market, which is, I think, not only we don't only face a technological challenge at Swiss, but also we face a challenge when it comes to the business plan, a business model. So I think that would definitely be a challenge as well, to secure investments from people that really trust in us, that trust our vision, that trust our group, our technology as well. So I think this is going to be a challenge as well. So those two, I think we are on a good way, but we need to still keep that, and we need to move on, keeping in mind that, you know we may face also some bad time in the future. So, but I think the most important thing is that we know that, and we will probably stick together also on during this, let's say, tough times that may happen in the future. So yeah.
It's as you said before, the passion that your team has and how you brought them all together. I think that will continue to carry them. So I think that part, as long as you continue to deliver the way you have been in this past couple of years, I'm sure you'll be able to keep the vision and that team united. As you go forward, the one thing I'm curious about is where in the ecosystem do you see other players to come in for the Hyperloop? Because Swisspod is providing the vehicle, providing the propulsion system for it, but the Hyperloop itself and the environment that's created within the Hyperloop, is that being done by Swisspod or by someone? Do you see collaborating with someone else to actually create the loop in order to enable the vehicle that Swisspod is creating?
We definitely need partners on that, and we're working now on putting a consortium together of companies that can actually deliver, let's say, an A to Z Hyperloop service, meaning that from planning, building the infrastructure, to creating the vehicles, to create the rail design, or to operate such a system. So we are putting this technical consortium together. We are currently working on that, and we mapped our potential partners on that. We started already a discussion with these stakeholders. Our main expertise nowadays is on the propulsion, levitation, vehicle side, plus the rail design of the infrastructure. Indeed, we are not really experts on creating new materials for the infrastructure, which are going to minimize the leak ratios of the tube, or technologies which are assessing the infrastructure. So for that, we are currently in touch with different stakeholders. So when it comes to the future, we don't exclude that we may also work on that. So as we grow as a company, I think we'll have the opportunity to develop some expertise also on that side. But at this moment, we're really looking to put together a consortium that can offer, let's say, let's try to call it from a government for at this moment, but might be a bit different. We're trying to offer a service for a government, which is from A to Z, reliable, safe, and yeah, I mean, we really work with big companies. So our main expertise is not really on the infrastructure, but more on the vehicle side. We try to de-risk these potential problems by having much more expertise on the infrastructure with some of those big companies which are doing that around the globe. So yeah.
I didn't know that you had that consortium. That's phenomenal. And so
there's no consortium yet. I mean, we're
right, but you're working on building one. Yes. So if there, for those people that are listening in today and those that will listen in afterwards, if they have a technology or capability to be able to contribute or be part of the consortium, how would they go about reaching out to you?
I mean, they can actually send an email to contact@swisspod.ch, and we'll get that message. Or maybe, I don't know, if there is a common person, maybe through you.
Okay.
But in general, they can also personally reach me on LinkedIn or on Twitter. I'm pretty responsive to all the messages. So we are here to build something. So we're quite open to have new partners on board.
That's excellent. And so I know that in the next couple of months you had mentioned that you're wrapping up with your PhD. So for those that are interested, what is the focus of your doctorate program?
So I'm also the name of the title of the thesis is Optimal Design and Strategies of a Hyperloop System. So I've been assessing different optimization problems on the cost and on the energy efficiency of a Hyperloop system. For instance, one of the main questions which people address nowadays when it comes to Hyperloop is like, we're gonna run in low pressure environment. I mean, so the question would be like, which is the optimal pressure inside of a Hyperloop tube, such as we can minimize the energy consumption and the price of the infrastructure. So that's one of the questions that I'm addressing at my PhD. It's worth mentioning that my PhD program represented and represents kind of a launch for me, because we managed to put in place this consortium with two universities in Switzerland, because I was part of this school and because I created the research center for Hyperloop here in EPFL. Therefore, we managed to leverage those partnerships in order to um, uh, to create this testing track in Switzerland. So not only that I'm a scientist at base or a technology person, but also I think I've been a catalyst between the research part in the university and the company Swisspod.
Excellent. And between the activities that you're doing in New York and Colorado and what you're doing in there in Switzerland, I know we were showed the video in the background as far as um, the activities in Colorado. Wasn't sure if you had mentioned, but are they breaking ground? When did you start the activities in Colorado?
So we already started. So we should receive during these days our survey about the soil. So in order to have a final design of the infrastructure, we had to measure different parameters of the soil in Colorado. So we already started to work on producing that testing facility. And once we have finalized the design, we'll start building. Probably in the next 1 or 2 months, we'll already start to build the first stretch of the testing facility in Colorado.
Excellent. And so we've got one question from the audience. They wanted to curious with all that you've done so far, the teams that you created, what you did as a student team, and now as Swisspod. What lessons would you share with your fellow entrepreneurs that are wanting to launch their companies and create teams?
I think the only idea I followed was really to have fun, and to bring together people which are passionate, which they can create something as a group with their uh, spirit, with their energy. So I think that's the most important part of that, to enjoy the right to be part of something which is cool, which is fun. Of course, that can be also constructive for the future. So yeah, I mean, that's I think the most important part. And of course, those can be assessed if you are a curious person. So I think curiosity is one of the key features I mean, it's good to have in life, in my opinion, because by being curious, you can actually you know uh, let's say study, or you can analyze different topics. And then I think the creativity, it's enabled once you do that. And once you're creative, you can combine what is in your left with what is in your right. Therefore you can maybe become innovative. So I think starting from curiosity and passion, you can actually uh, create something which is valuable for the actual society.
No, I love that. There is that curiosity that drives an entrepreneur, and um, credit to you, Dennis. It's also being able to find and bring together a great team. You know that as I said before, the thing that we liked when we first visited with Swisspod was the incredible team that has come together, and the talent and the passion. And so it takes an entrepreneur with some leadership ability to be able to find that and bring them all together. So with that, we're coming close to the end of wrapping up our discussion this afternoon. Is there any final thoughts you want to say as far as Swisspod, or anything else that you want to share with the community on Swisspod and the vision and what you've done so far?
Yeah, I think first of all, I want to thank the people that were present on this conversation. I'm thankful for taking the time to listen to this conversation. And second of all, if they're curious enough to see what we're up to, we're really open to receive new applications and to have new partners on board. So yeah, I mean, I don't have anything special to say, just to stay curious. I think that's important.
Excellent. Thanks, Dennis. This has been phenomenal. It's been great to be able to talk with you, Dennis, and to share the great vision and technology from Swisspod and the way that it's going to transform the markets here on Earth and in space. And with that, Sydney, I'll turn it over back to you, and you can wrap up the conversation for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. I think you're on mute, Sydney.
Thanks so much, Dennis and Stephen. It's been a great conversation. And one of the goals for us here at the Seller Investment Series is to give some tangibility of what we're doing by showcasing startups that are part of our portfolio, and also sharing some ideas about how space is connected to the Earth economy. I think this is a very good example, and Swisspod is doing that in an amazing way. All right, so we're gonna wrap up this with a short video from Swisspod that I think it's gonna give you a much better idea of how what their plans are for the future. So in the meantime, once again, thanks so much for joining us today, and we will be back next week. All right, I heard that there's no audio here, so we will just share the video here in a different way.